Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Seers podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Mercedes Lucky Benedict, and I've got my co hosts here. We've got Ann Bender and LaLa Bright, and we have a very special guest here with us today. I think everyone is special that comes here, but I think this guy's very special. He's very, I don't know, he's just like amazing special. So we are so happy to have you here with us. Lon Strickler, the Lon Strickler. How are you today, sir?
I'm doing fine.
Good. You
Yeah,
better be doing fine. So, Lala, how are you doing? You're sitting there next to him. Have you guys had a good day?
Yeah, pretty good day. Relaxing. I just played with makeup most of the day, so that's always a good day. Really.
That's a fun day, huh?
Yeah.
And if I look down below here, I don't know if it's on my screen. You're below me, so you're out in a beautiful area, the redwood forest today. And thank you for showing up and being able to be here with the trees. Can you hear me? Can you hear me, Anne? Okay.
Oh.
Round three, round four.
Uh-huh.
All right. So we're going to keep going. And I really would love to have you share more information about what your life is like. Lon Strickler, you've had a life filled with a mystery. You've researched television shows, all kinds of people have watched you for years and sent you all these reports of the unusual, the phenomenon, and you're like the leader of all of this in this world today. Right now, in this world today, I think everyone's even just looking at you like, "Hey, you were right. You were you were the truth teller." Could you talk a little bit about your life and how you started this?
well, I kind of was born into it. Even though nobody in my family is involved with paranormal at all, I, at a young age, I pretty well knew I was something up with me. I didn't know exactly what it was, but the first time I really found out or sensed or saw or perceived that I had some abilities was in 1967. I was 8 or 9 years old, and I used to spend a lot of time on the Gettysburg battlefield because I lived right down the road from it, and I do now. Um, so during the summer, I would get on my bike and go up 116 and go to the battlefield, and just nose around up there on the battlefield. And this one particular day, and I think it was in June, I was over in the area of the Valley of Death, which is between Little Round Top, Devil's Den, and the wheat field. And I was on the bike on the access road, and I was just stopped, and I was looking around. There was a lot of people actually on that day. I mean, in the summer it's a pretty good amount of people on the battlefield, and all of a sudden, it's just like a screen opened up in front of me, and I was in the battle, literally,
Yeah.
because I was smelling gunpowder, hearing yelling and screaming and gunfire and cannon fire, all the whole 9 yards, and that went on for about 30 seconds, and then it just dissipated. So when after that happened, I definitely knew there was something up. And as time went on, I started having more and more experiences. I was sensing a lot of different things in my mind's eye. So basically, I learned then I was intuitive, and then later Claire sent it with me, and I was actually starting to do paranormal investigations back in the early to mid 70s when I was in high school. And that's kind of where it all started at.
Wow. Now, so it's amazing, and I want to continue on where it went from there because it definitely went, up from there. But when you were experiencing that on the battlefield, now that sounds like something that would happen to me. Like I just go right into that, the whole thing, like I'm right there. Do you think that since you're standing there in that battlefield, do you believe that that was the remote viewing, or do you believe that you were in a like a portal, or just that you were just experienced? How do you explain that?
I believe it was just the right time, the right place, where things just aligned to where it was around the time of the original battle, or the year of the original battle. And I think because all the energies that are inherent to that area, that it just opened up for me. Now I don't
Yeah.
know if it opened up for anybody else, and I didn't notice anybody who had been in my vicinity even noticing it, and I'm pretty sure it didn't. But it's something I very much perceive, and
Wow.
and as far as being my senses being heightened and experiencing what I did experience, I don't think it was a portal. I just think it was maybe a rift or something in timeline
Yeah.
where it opened up, and I started having an experience. And as I've gotten older, that's not the only time it's happened.
Oh,
But that was the first time it happened.
wow. So that it really hasn't happened like that since. That's amazing. Okay, so and I just want to keep going a little bit further. So you were in high school. You had your own paranormal team, which is already amazing. So then, how did you decide? That you would. When was your first experience with, the some of the big things that would end up being part of what would change your career? Like, did you have? What was your early career? I mean, did you have a regular job, or what happened?
Yeah, I was working in a paper mill at the time,
Okay.
and when I got out of high school, I was living up here in I was living up in Pennsylvania. That's where I was born and raised. I moved to Baltimore. I lived down in the Baltimore area for about 40 years,
Mm.
and I worked, raised a family there. Then again, and after my wife passed away, then my son and I moved back up to Pennsylvania. So,
Um,
but as far as what I was doing early on, I was doing investigation. In fact, of course, you didn't have the internet, you didn't have telephone, cell phones or anything. It was all word of mouth. And when I would occasionally get an inquiry about going to a location and checking things out, just to find out what was going on. People had a lot of questions; they didn't know what was going on, and they wanted answers. So I tried to provide that for them. I never charged anything. It was just one of those. I was interested in it. I didn't have a team. It was just me, and I was given that opportunity. Though I had no realization that the paranormal would become so mainstream as time went on.
yeah.
Well, back then when people would ask me, well, what do you do when you go on these investigations? I'm just a paranormal investigator. I just look into phenomena. I don't know exactly what it is, but I'm able to sense some things, and as each case evolved and ended and another one started, I just kept a lot of notes and for myself, and that's basically what I did until I had a Bigfoot encounter back in 1981.
Wow. And so, you know what? It is just amazing when you think about that, because when I heard about you through Bill Bean and Kev Baker in 2019, no, 2020 and on, you were already a set name, and they just loved you, and they just, and like you were the king of the paranormal, basically. And but it's a fascinating journey because you documented all of these things, and you kept. I mean, it's like the more you document, I mean, that just really spurs on other people to do the same and to try to follow in your footsteps in many ways, and look to you for what you have already accomplished in this field. So, with that said, I want to stop right here. And I know that Anne and LaLa might actually have a question that they would like to ask you. So, ladies, is there anyone that would like to ask Lon a question? I know LaLa's right next to him, but maybe Anne and LaLa, you would like to ask him a question.
You can go.
Well, I'm sitting right in the heart of Sasquatch country right now, and I have never imagined I'd run into so many people with so many stories. I know I've had my encounter. It was up in Washington State. What's your most memorable Sasquatch or Bigfoot encounter?
Well, I've only had one, and that was in May 9th, 1981, in Sykesville, Maryland. It was just outside of Sykesville, down along the South Branch of the Tapscott River, in an area where I did a lot of fishing. You know, I had been living down there about 3 years by then, and well, 4 years by then, and I was just out on the river fishing in waders out there fly fishing, and there was a dog across the river, kind of going in and out of the weeds, and when it was, you know, I didn't pay it any mind, but then I heard the dog yelp, and I looked back over across the river, and the river was only like 30, 40 foot wide there, and I saw this big hairy thing stand up in the weeds, and it was I estimated that at that time maybe about 7.5 and 8 foot, and half of it was covered by the high grass, the high weeds. And when it stood up, I'm watching it. It started walking to my left, and as it came out of the weeds onto the riverbank, it just stopped, and we were staring at each other. We literally locked eyes on each other. I was probably about 40 foot away from it, and it was making this ticking sound, which I thought later on it was like gnashing its teeth or something. I didn't know exactly where it would come from. I still don't, though I've heard many witnesses talk about experiencing the same thing. But as we watched each other for about 10 seconds, I mean, this thing didn't look like prototypical ape. It looked like, I mean, it looked like a Neanderthal, like an early man, but it had the conical head, had matted brown hair over most of its body. It was very muscular, definitely male. And we just watched each other for that 10 seconds, and it just quickly turned on a dime and swiftly walked up into the woods behind it. So, yeah, I didn't know what to do. You know, I thought it may have been a Bigfoot. I wasn't sure what it was. And, you know, I wasn't doing cryptid investigations at the time. So what I did, I just got out of the river, went up to my car, got in, and started driving into town. I got to the nearest payphone, and I called the dispatcher in Sykesville, and I told her what I saw. And she's saying, well, do you want to meet police officer? And I'm thinking, well, yeah, I mean, I can come down there to the station if somebody wants to talk. She said, oh, no, go back to where you were, and we'll have somebody meet you there. Well, you know, I didn't particularly want to go back there because I didn't know the thing was coming back or not. So, you know, I wasn't too thrilled about that. But I told her, I said, okay. So anyway, I got back in the car. It was only about a 3-minute drive back to the location. And by the time I got there was a Maryland State police officer already there. And he had, by that time, had put up the wooden, I don't know, like sawhorses across the road.
Wow.
And yeah, I mean, that's 1981. So, you know, there's no tape or anything going across the road. So I pulled up, and he motioned me to roll the window down. And I said, I was the one who made a call about a Bigfoot sighting I had here about 10 minutes ago. I said, I don't care. You got to get it. You got to get out of here.
Did you smell anything with this encounter?
I did smell something that kind of reminded me of fox urine, but other than that, I didn't smell much of anything. Um,
But don't you think that's weird that like they were there that quickly? Like, so it sounds to me like they knew that something had been seen around there.
well, this is why the situation was so strange. Um, After he told me to leave, I just got in the car and drove back. I lived in Sykesville at the time, so I went home. So I'm sitting at home and I'm thinking, well, I'm going back. I'm going to go back there and see what's going on. That was about an hour later. I went back, and there were cars all up and down that road. And I had to park about a quarter mile away and walk up to the location itself and go up to the barrier. And by that time, a Howard County police officer was there. I walked up to him and I said, "What's going on? I'm trying to get through here to go to Marriottsville." He said, "Well, you're going to have to turn around and go back off 32 because you're going to take a detour." I said, "Well, what's going on?" And, there were guys walking in the woods with dogs. There must have been a dozen. It was, the area was pretty good size, but they were in the woods and all. They had a big white tent set up across the river where this thing was.
Oh my God.
And every jurisdiction was there. The sheriff's departments, all the county cops, state police, and then they had two black Wagoneers there, which feds used to ride back then. And I heard a helicopter. So they were looking for this thing. Now, I did find out later that a woman in Marriottsville had seen it about 3 hours previous to my encounter, and she had called the police. But for the police and the other law enforcement to be interested in a Bigfoot sighting and to show up in force like they did, something was going on. Now, look, if you live in the Baltimore, Washington area, there's a lot of locations that have, you don't know what's going on there. A lot of government stuff, mostly government stuff going on. I don't know if they had some type of program going on along Tabasco. There are older facilities there. I didn't know what it was, and I still haven't found out what it was after all these years.
Wow.
But after I stood there for a bit, I left and went back to my car, drove home. So I immediately called the three network stations that were in Baltimore at the time, which was BAL, JZ, and MAR. And I talked to the news editors or news desk people, and they were all very excited about talking to me. They said, "Well, I tell you, we'll make some inquiries," and this is what most of them said: "We'll make some inquiries and we'll get back to you." So I gave them all my contact number and everything. Well, a week later, I hadn't heard back from anybody. So I called MAR, and I talked to the news editor. I believe it was the same guy, but I'm not sure. So I told him who it was. I called a week previous to that. I gave him some more information, and he said point blank to me, "I can't talk to you," and hung up on me.
What?
Whoa.
So I knew then something was up. And
wow.
From that period onward, I was really interested to find out what I had encountered. And
wow.
Now, I had talked to a lot of people in Sykesville and in the area where the Sykesville monster had previously been about 8 or 9 years previous to that. In fact, the area is mostly populated by African American families, and they said, they had the story. They told the story to the Baltimore Afro American newspaper, and they're the ones that did the original story. I had no knowledge of this stuff. I didn't know anything about it until after it happened, and I started making inquiries. Well, I was lucky enough to be working with probably the patriarch of everybody who lived down there, and he got me in contact with some of the original witnesses, some other people who had seen it, didn't report it. So I was really hot on the trail with that thing. And
wow.
Yeah, so that's how I found out all about the Sykesville monster and all the stories that happened, all the things that happened. around that time. And, I did eventually talk to a couple of the police officers who had been there, and they all verified the story. They were out looking for a Bigfoot. That's what they kept telling me. So they were looking for something, but they didn't know it was a Fed operation. But they had to have all these jurisdictions looking around. I don't know if they found anything. I'm not sure what happened. And honestly, in Maryland, this isn't very unusual because I have had reports similar to this in Edgewood, which is here in Hartford County, and in other locations as well, where there have been escapes and such of possible Bigfoot. But it's never really confirmed. The information I had gotten was from a retired Air Force officer who was actually working at Edgewood while he was retired. And he happened to walk in on a facility in Edgewood while he was contracted to do some work there. And he was telling me that they were on high alert because some things had gotten out of a location. And it's funny because after that happened, the reports of Bigfoot sightings in northern Baltimore and Hartford County really jumped. So he had no idea how many had escaped or how many, what the whole situation was. But, when you talk about Maryland, it's not necessarily one of the areas you think about with cryptid activity. But honestly, Maryland, for the size of the population, probably got more sightings per capita than any place in the country.
That's amazing. Oh my God, that's amazing. And so it's interesting. So Anne definitely is is it Sasquatch County? What is it? Sasquatch Mountain?
No, I'm in Humboldt County. I'm up just south of Eureka, California right now.
But it does say something about Sasquatch. What was the name?
Sasquatch, there's
it's like a mountain. I thought you said that earlier. But either way, there must mean that there's like a lot of sightings, but they wouldn't call it that. Do you hear of anything in the California a lot too, Lon? Because I know that you.
Yeah, it was kind of a hush thing back before Mount St. Helens. But after Mount St. Helens and all the stories that came out of there, the Sasquatch sightings, more people were reporting it all throughout the Pacific Northwest, even up to British Columbia. So after all that started, and of course we had the Patty film and everything that was associated with what happened down in California. So it's a hot area. It's probably one of those areas I believe that are actually have indigenous animals. Because my theory on Bigfoot and most cryptids are that they're ultra-terrestrial beings, not necessarily indigenous to our Earth plane. I do believe there are areas in North America in particular where there are native species of these creatures. Florida, around the Gulf Coast, and up into the Pacific Northwest. And of course, you see family groups in those areas as well. So that's another indicator to me that there's actually some breeding and actual group activity in those areas of indigenous creatures.
Yeah, it's just amazing. Literally, that's a great question, Anne. Good job. That was excellent. LaLa, what question do you have for Lon?
Ask me something you've never asked me before.
I ask you stuff all the time. Okay. You started originally with energetic work, right?
Yeah.
Can you talk about that?
Well, again, it was one of those things I had to learn on my own for the most part because it's, people just didn't want to come out and talk about it.
Yeah.
And, when I started doing like energy work or spirit rescue and such later on, it became something that it just seemed second nature to me. I would have people contact me. I can remotely sense things, even on the telephone sometimes.
Yeah.
And get a good idea of what's going on. I mean, most of my cases are done remotely because I can't be everywhere. Though
Right.
now I do have at least 20 people working with me who try to get boots on the ground for almost any type of paranormal activity. But
Oh, that's
yeah,
great.
yeah.
That's great. So we just had, I would say hi to Elaine from the UK. I believe that I saw it pop up. Thank you for everyone that's on the chat right now. Yes, awesome. UK, awesome. Thank you for being here. So with when you said that, Lon, it made me think about so how you said like a lot of people don't want to talk about it, and I even this show itself, trying to find I want us to be able to share the stories of the people. Hi, Michelle. I want us to be able to share the stories of the people that LaLa and I have helped. Um, but as I've reached out to a lot of my clients, it's very rare that they're going to want to share because then they have to talk about what they've gone through, and they don't want to talk about that in public.
Right.
So I think it's interesting though that there are a few that will, and I think that makes me happy because I really want to be able to share the things that I have helped people with if possible. So when you get to document you've helped a lot of people and a lot of families, even just being there to listen to them and to act like I believe you, not act like it, but that you
Right.
believe them. Talk a little bit about what you've experienced with these people, that are, I mean, I know I went through it. I went through that phase. Like, what is happening here? It was horrible. And so for people to act like I was lying or whatever, and then finally to come through to this end that here I am, with podcasts and I talk about it all the time. So how do you feel, or can you share what you've gone through with some of these people that you've worked with?
Well, it's been a lot of different cases, but actually, I really started getting deeper and deeper into it after I learned how to remove view. And when I talk remote viewing, I'm talking about coordinate remote viewing, where we use a protocol in a structured setting,
Yeah.
gather information. Look, anybody can remote view. You don't have to be psychic. You don't have to be intuitive or anything like that. Though, for the most part, as you get deeper and deeper into the session, it does help if you're doing, if you do have some psychic ability, because you start being able to take some things out that just don't fit the case. I've done the coordinate remote viewing, scientific remote viewing, using monitors and such, and as far as using other viewers in a single session at different locations, and then bring everything together at the end. But I had learned personally from a retired MI6 agent who worked for MI6, British intelligence, and she taught me for about 6 months over Skype, and did cases and did a lot of things together as far as actually learning how to remove you the proper way.
Wow.
And that's basically where I picked up on it. And we started working on cases in particularly Wales, where she lived at. And we were doing several cases where she would go on location with her team, and I'd be on the computer and watching and trying to pick up as things were going on, then later do remote view sessions with her as a monitor after that. It was interesting. I learned a lot.
Wow.
I kind of refined my abilities as even intuitive to pick up on a lot of different things, to kind of categorize the senses I felt. One thing I do, which is, I know others can do it, but it happens to me all the time, is I sense colors. In other words, in my mind's eye, I see certain combinations of colors. when there are certain energies around. And that's when I know I'm getting close to something. And that's when I go deeper into it and we do the actual remote view itself.
Wow, that's fascinating. Oh my gosh. Um, and so what's interesting to me is that all my life, oh, not all my life, when this all started, I wasn't, I could never find anybody that could do that. So I think it's interesting you said that anybody can be a remote viewer,
Yeah.
because it's like all the people I've met, nobody could do that until I met LaLa and Anne. I really, that was 15 years or no, 14 years plus of doing that and not meeting anybody until LaLa and Anne. And I'd heard about you. So, and heard you talk about it. So
Yeah.
I think it's great. And I believe you. I believe that we all have that ability. And I'm even trying to teach that in my new classes. So I would be very interested in learning about, how you learned. I think I've heard you talk about this before. And I know LaLa said that she is taking a class too. So I think it'd be interesting to know more about that and talk to those people on here. Um, so I don't want to monopolize all the conversation with this, but I'm sure, Anne, do you have anything you would like to say about what he just said? Because I'm sure you do.
My internet has been in and out here. It was supposed to be a stable, so I've only got bits and pieces.
Okay.
I actually was going to comment on the fact that I was working a missing woman's case where I believe she was killed in Washington. That's why I was in the area, very remote area. And there were several this is during Green River Killer times. And that's where I had my encounter with the raw meat smell. And I actually was scared, very scared, where I took off in my car when I encountered what I encountered. Um, and it was watching me. I could smell it. I never saw it, but that's why
Oh, probably. She's probably saying that that's why she's asking about smells.
Yeah. I don't doubt people have had that trash smell, the urine smell, all kinds of other odors that people have picked up in close proximity, or even residual odors that have been left.
Yeah, that's true. The residual.
Yeah.
sorry.
It's okay, Anne. We're just keeping on going because we understood what you were saying. Oh, look, we got Bishop Joshua. Our out of body experience is sometimes mistaken for remote viewing. That is a question I have been trying to answer for many years. Excellent question, Joshua.
Yeah.
What do you think? What do you think, Lon?
It's a different type of thing. It's more of a bilocation thing.
Astral traveling.
Yeah, or astral traveling. You can do that. I mean, that could be part of it as well. I use a technique now that I developed after I learned remote viewing, which I title it as astral perception. In other words, it's like bilocation or astral traveling, but I'm able to kind of keep my wits about me and not drift off like other people do at some points, and try to get more information during the event as I can. Try to get it written down as best I can. It's not the easiest thing to do, but I still am working on using remote viewing for cryptid cases, which is something I have been using for many years now. So it's not necessarily remote viewing just for paranormal activity or infestations, oppressions, and such. It's I also use it now, almost exclusively now for cryptid cases.
Yeah, I think that would be. I mean, literally anything it can be used for. I mean, let's look at even with the CIA and the government. I mean, they've been using remote viewers for years and years and years to spy on others. So basically, it's a technique that you can tune into to that. So like when I do that, I mean, it's like I literally am right there. Like I'm just right there in that spot, and so it's a how do you keep yourself in, like for me, like it can be very scary or it can be really ethereal, but if it's scary, how do you keep yourself protected if you're in a situation? Can you pull yourself out of it, or do you have a protection that you do in your protocol?
I always use a lot of affirmation and a lot of energy protection around me. Something I unfortunately didn't do early on.
Yes.
I've been able to get myself out of situations when it's necessary, not necessarily re, counting on a monitor to pull me out. But I had been in two situations as far as doing an active case where I was psychically attacked and pulled out by a monitor. And one, of course, I was I had gotten in the clutches of this entity, which happened to be the father of the woman we were working for. And there was a lot of assault and a lot of stuff going on when he was alive. Well, he continued doing that while after he passed away. And
Wow.
he didn't particularly care for me nosing in, and remotely, now I'm talking like 1,200 mile away remotely,
Mhm.
I got a laceration from my collarbone down to my navel on my stomach. And then another case, we were doing something very similar, but I don't know what entity hit me, but I had two severely bruised ribs on my right side as well. So it does, psychic attacks do happen. And honestly, I didn't really believe that at first until it happened to me. And then, of course, I knew something was, there was something to it.
Yeah.
But I am very careful about protecting myself now, regardless of any situation I get involved with.
Yeah. And so talk about how you felt when you were cut. I mean, literally sliced that length. I mean, that is frightening. And what was that? What did you feel? Did you want to stop after that? Or you like, I'm not doing this anymore, or
But
what?
yeah, she pulled me out of it, and I honestly I didn't really feel it at first.
Wow.
It's almost like somebody had a sharp nail and just went down,
Oh no.
and
Ugh.
I mean I was bleeding. I mean, there's no doubt about that. It broke the skin, and she sensed there was something wrong with me and told me, and I couldn't figure out where it was, but and then I started feeling it, and then I pulled up my shirt and I saw the laceration. So yeah, that's now the one that when I bruised the ribs, I felt that right away. It was like somebody kicked me in the side. So
Wow.
yeah,
Wow.
so,
It's very,
I mean, it does happen. Psychic
Yeah.
attacks do definitely happen.
Is that, did you start, do your like some more training harder on this or learning more after this, or was it kind of before this happened?
Uh, I just made up my mind I was going to find a real good way of protecting me the best I could. Now I use a lot of tools in when I'm working. I use crystals, affirmations. I use other type of divination. Though not what not regularly what people think of. I've used some ancient text in the past. A few things people just don't necessarily believe in. Though I have found out that a lot of it, even though most of it is based on religious dogma, I don't necessarily use it like that. I use it for
Right.
a lot of different ways. But using crystals and other conjuring and such with candle magic and a few other things, I've been able to use that for the most part.
Well, that's amazing.
I got a question.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead. Yeah, yeah.
About the remote viewing, how can people tell if someone someone or something else is remote viewing you, or like how can people tell if they've
Yeah.
been spied on?
Well, that's difficult, and we've run into that. I mean, I've had cases where I've done otherworldly beings. I had a big abduction case where this individual and the family were being constantly taken over a period of about 5 to 6 years. And when we finally got the resources to do it RV, we would get to about the fourth phase of the protocol, and everything would go blank. And we've used several viewers to do that. We tried it 3 different times over the years, and we get around to the fourth phase, and that's just when everything goes blank.
Wow.
So these, for someone to say that, well, you can't be perceived. The remote view can't be perceived by the subject. Well, that's just not true. Now, maybe a human, and I think maybe some humans can do it, but other subjects that are otherworldly or paranormal or whatever, they seem to have the ability a lot of times to sense that.
Yeah.
I agree. Then I wanted to say I saw Michelle had left a message about birthday wishes for LaLa, which I believe your birthday's tomorrow, though, right?
Yeah, it's tomorrow. Although all week I've been saying it's my birthday week, so
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
birthday week is great. I would do that too with a birthday. Well,
That's
we're gonna.
nice.
I just happy birthday. I know everyone here at the Seers podcast is wishing LaLa Bright a happy early birthday and a wonderful birthday week.
thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so Anne, what about so Anne's worked on a lot of different crime cases, and she's actually experienced some horrible things, in her experiences, but she's helped a lot of people. Anne, did you have a question about any of if anything like that you have worked on?
Sorry, what was the topic?
Well, because you have worked on a lot of crime cases, did you have a specific question that you might find interesting from Lon about that?
Oh, she's
Probably
frozen.
don't have a good enough question. Yeah. So, but I'm curious then.
Yeah.
Have you worked on a lot of any crime cases?
I worked on a few, and to be honest, I was kind of I was kind of disappointed in it. We had a case in particular in Surrey, south of London, of a missing girl, and we weren't contracted by the police. We knew some people who knew parts of the family and all, and they asked us to look into it independently.
Right.
And it was me and 3 other people who were doing it. Well, after we did our perceptions and did did the sensing and such, and went through the protocol, we did come up with a location in one of the houses where we thought she may be. And of course, we contacted Surrey police. We even contacted Scotland Yard, and they totally dismissed it. And about a week later, it came out that they had found her in the location dead, where and she had been holed up there for a while. So I became disenchanted with the whole thing after that. It was just seemed like it was a waste of time. You go through all that. Look, I've talked to other people who have been involved with it as well. My friend Jeanette has been involved with these cases for many years, and she tells me the same thing. Getting frustrated, she keeps doing it. I hate to say that I don't have time to do that, waste time with that, because that does sound a bit harsh, but honestly, it's just frustrating.
Well, we get it.
Yeah.
And it's sad that they could have helped if they would have listened. We get it.
yeah, if they would have listened, or that little girl might have survived.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was, and LaLa, and I know Ann and we've talked a couple of times on the podcast about the children in Connecticut that we were supposed to have Lady Warrior on last week, but she's going to come another time that's scheduled. But it was very sad, because we're looking at this, but we're looking at this that from years later, and then just to experience these children, or the knowing, they are dead, and they're trying to show, like one in particular was really showing where she's at, or several of them. So I don't know. I think it would be harder if there is a case happening in modern times, and that would happen. So I could understand that for you. But but on the other aspect, if you think of it as the people that are on the other side that are needing that help too, it to me, I think it's important for us to continue to find those answers. I believe you feel that way too, because I think you've stayed on doing this because you have to find the answers.
Yeah, I mean, there have been plenty of situations over the years I've done this, and I've done this for almost a little over 45 years now, and there have been times where I've just almost threw my hands up and said, I don't want to be involved with this anymore. We had a case out in eastern Washington State where a young substitute teacher who was living, her mother and her were living together, and I'm pretty sure this is what happened because the UFO activity and other strange things going on in the house. That she was literally abducted, and after she went missing, they haven't found any trace of her since then. And of course, her being an adult, we called the Washington State Police, and they continuously keep the case open, but it's been almost 11 years now. No one has gone into her bank accounts. No use of credit cards. All her property was still at the house. The car was left. It's not like, even though she was an adult, you can't do a whole lot because, she is an adult. It was a child, different story. But of course, the police were under the impression that, well, maybe she took off with a boyfriend or something. But that's a different case. And I'm pretty sure where she was taken, that's where they left her. And I'm pretty sure it was just because of the situation and the things that I perceived and what they were telling me. Actually, they had only contacted me the night before it happened. And as I was talking to them for about 3 hours that evening, I told them, look, keep a journal. Let me know what's going on. They had things get in the house. They saw UFO activity for weeks prior to that. And, when she was gone, I mean, her mother went upstairs that evening and she wasn't around, and all her effects were there. So she knew something was going on. I was trying to get them, and in fact, I told them that night that I wanted them to call me the next day and talk to me and see if anything happened before. And she hadn't called in about a week, and I didn't know what to think. And about a Sunday later, she called me, her mother, and she said, I forgot to call you. I'm so sorry about that. There's been a lot going on, and I knew something was wrong. And she said, Mandy's missing.
Oh my God.
And so it's an open case. It's still an open case in Washington State.
Well, didn't she have something in the house while her
Yeah,
mom was on the
she was
second
in her
floor?
bedroom.
Yeah, upstairs, right?
Yeah.
And she just disappeared in the house.
Yeah. Now, so one of the things you talked about was how it happens in certain families. Like family members will also be experiencing, or it's in their lineage.
Mm-hmm.
Did she ever talk about anybody that they'd had experiences before?
I did ask him that, but there was no indication that any of that
Yeah.
had happened. Though her father had passed away, so I don't know if there was anything involved with his side of the family.
Yeah. So
I know-
interesting.
I know her mother wasn't.
Some people I know, they really want this contact, because I believe I've made contact with the other beings. They're out there, and but the more research I do, the more I think that, I don't think I really would like them to stop by and take me anywhere. I
No.
mean, it sounds like there's a lot of bad things that happen, and then I know LaLa. How do you feel about LaLa's experiences? That she's been abducted.
Oh, I believe it happens to a lot of people even if they don't realize it. I mean, I think it's much more common what people realize. To be
Yeah.
honest with you, I didn't believe that for a long time, but as time has gone on, and I started looking into a lot of the possible abduction cases and encounters and such, and after I wrote my book, I do believe that the only way that we're going to get any solid evidence of this phenomenon is by the experiencers themselves. I mean, they're going to have to be the people that expose the reality of it. And, there's a lot of talk about disclosure, especially nowadays, and government involvement and such. But honestly, I think we're being spoon fed for the most part. And I just don't think there's any real indication that they have any intention of letting us know what's really going on.
I agree. It seems a little bit like, even with the Steven Spielberg movie coming out, well, isn't that interesting timing? He's planned that. It's all planned. But, I know that when we look at cases like LaLa's case and her life, and I thank God that she is not one of those people that, is gone. Like, she's here with us, and she's one of those, like, the people that are being able to share their stories and talk about it, and even Michelle that was on last week, Labigan, and just these people. I think it's important that we do share their stories, and that their voice can be heard, as even the voices of the people like myself with the paranormal and all the different things that we experience. I think it's important. One question I like to ask, I guess, in this new theme of this podcast is, when you hear the word seers, what does that word mean to you?
Sensing more than anything else, perception. Everybody's got their own perception of anything. You have 20 people see the same thing happen, and they're all going to give you a different answer. So
Yes.
I believe it's an individual thing, and working in combination, you can't do anything but help.
I love that. I love that because even talking with Anne a minute ago, or a few minutes ago, and I was talking about the wonderful people that we have coming on, including yourself, and not all of them are going to be remote viewers, but they're all seeing something, or they're all experiencing something. And so I think it really is like you just stated. I think it is a variety. We are all unique. When I do one of the classes, anytime I do a class and I'm doing my energy healing, I will tell these people, like, what do you feel right now? And they'll all, like, if there's 20 people there, they'll all have a different sensation of what it is that the other person is. They're not having the same sensation within the energy of the body. I just find that fascinating. So it's the same with what you're saying too.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you're an investigator of any length of time, and you continuously work on different types of cases, you're going to find that different view from different people. And like I said, I do try to work with other people for the most I can. I do want to hear others' views. When I get a case, I want to listen to the experiencer or the witness, and get all they can out of it, and try to determine what they really did see. Though, I honestly believe when people come forward, uh, they truly believe they had an encounter, regardless of how they describe it, or what you may think about what they're telling you. I always,
Lon, I've got a case for you to
yeah,
consult on. There's somebody that's coming to mind that is in SoCal I've been working with for years. And
I have one question for Lon, real quick, if that's okay. Is that cool?
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Okay. Have you written any new books, and where can we find them? And do you have any websites or podcasts?
I was just going to ask that. Good question.
well, I've written 10 books. I've got 5 in print right now. The recent book was the Glimmer Man book, which we looked in, me and 2 other gentlemen who I've been working with for over 10 years now, have been trying to get some answers as to this phenomenon of the Glimmer Man.
Yeah.
And for those who don't understand the Glimmer Man, it's almost like the same type of phenomenon you see in that film, Predator.
Yeah.
But people are actually seeing this, and I'm convinced through all the documentation that they really are seeing this. So we got many cases over the years and compiled them in a book, tried to give as much information we could about it. And it's a continuing thing. It's probably one of the newer phenomena that's out there in the world right now. But, the paranormal isn't moot. It just keeps on going. So,
Yeah. And so your website, do you
well, phantomsmonsters.com.
Phantoms and Monsters.
All my books are on Amazon. You can go through my website and find them as well. I have a podcast every Friday night, Phantoms and Monsters Radio on YouTube. And I'm working, well, as you know, I'm working with some production companies and a few other things right at this point. And hopefully we're going to get some projects finished.
Yeah, that'd be great. And and I'm hoping that they will come to fruition for you very soon. And yes, so please check out all of these books, check out all of the podcasts, and you know what? There it goes. I did it. It just fell. So, but there's so many podcasts, there's television shows. I mean, you just look him up and he is everywhere. And I was going to say something. So one of
Well, let me tell Ann, if
Yeah.
Ann wants to consult on something, she can contact me anytime she wants to.
Right.
Yeah, it's Lon Strickler, phantomsandmonsters.com. And my phone number's on the website, phantomsandmonsters.com. So, yeah, I mean, if you want to consult or you want my opinion on something, I'm more than willing to help you.
this
Yay.
is a very interesting, strange attachment case that falls outside the borders of everything. So I've been trying to help this lady for a long time. We've come up with different techniques, but I'd love to get your thoughts on this case because we've tried everything, literally everything that we can come up with.
That's no problem. Just feel free to contact me.
Thank
And
you.
what if somebody would, if you have people that would like to maybe join with your group, do you have a certain way of letting those people write to you, or that could help you?
Yeah, I've got a contact form on the website, but
Okay.
I've always got my my phone number and my my email address. So if people think they can help out in some way, or they have some type of special abilities or something that they think we could use, I'm more than willing to listen.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's good news. Because it's kind of like the Order of Exorcists. That's how Archbishop Ron started, and Ronald Enright, and so now it's all over the world. I mean, he's got people helping him in all different places, over 40 years. So I think it's really nice that that's what you're doing too. Thank you. And I know we're out of time. So ladies, is there anything you'd like to say before we end the show? now that we're all here together.
Pleased to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well.
And happy birthday again, LaLa, right here on the big Seers podcast. We are wishing you a wonderful birthday. And thank you, Lon Strickler, for being here with us so much.
No problem.
We appreciate you. And hope you'll come back again sometime.
Sure.
Okay, awesome. Thank you to our wonderful producer, Stan Fikes of the Web Radio Network. Thank you, everybody. We had a busy chat today. Thank you so much for being on the chat. We appreciate you. Thank you, and we'll see you next week.